What's up, all you movie lover badasses out there? Fat Samurai Guy here with Lady Fat Blood, and today we are going to review Suicide Squad.
So if you've seen the trailer, you know exactly what this movie is about. Amanda Waller, DC's resident bitch, has gathered these supervillains to fight whatever for the sake of whatever. I've never really understood the concept of Suicide Squad personally, except for maybe the possibility that you use them for covert operations, and she kind of said it in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, you get these guys and you send them in complete under, black shadows and all that, and if
it's the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, and if something goes wrong, well, they're the fall guys, and we kind of wash our hands of the whole responsibility of the failure of the mission.
So now we're going to give you the good, we're going to give you the bad, we're going to give you the badass. First up, the good.
I personally am happy to say that for my money's worth, I feel like DC has, in this regard, taken a step somewhat in the right direction, and that this actually, for the first time, feels like their foray into their own cinematic universe. We get to see cameos from Batman, from another character. Some of you probably know who it is already. I didn't know he was going to be in it. It was really nice to see him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So aside from Batman's very brief cameo, we get in a very, very large exposition dump at the beginning. Just to forewarn you, the first 20 minutes or so of this film is a giant exposition dump. They had a lot of characters that they had to introduce and let you know who they were in a very short amount of time. And I know a lot of people are going to have issue with that. I kind of dug it. I kind of got what they had to do, and so I accepted it. So we also learned that one of the reasons Amanda Waller has done all this is because in the wake of Superman's death, which is, again, we're hearkening back to a movie we've previously seen earlier this year in BVS, and I liked how they added that as an element. We see people holding up Superman shirts with the symbol and then turn it around, and it says remember on the back. That was a really good touch. It feels like we've been through a lot of crap in this universe so far, and people, out of fear, are trying to deal with it in their own way. And of course, Amanda Waller, her crazy ass, thinks that this is probably the best solution. They keep asking the question, what if the next Superman is an asshole, essentially? How are we gonna deal with him? So how do the characters stack up? We have a whole bunch of people getting thrown at us in a very short amount of time, Amanda Waller included, as we've not seen her established in this universe yet. So, Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, I think you gotta, if you know who Amanda Waller is, Viola Davis, good, perfect, you did great. The rest of the characters, now some are gonna stand out a lot more than others, obviously. Harley Quinn, I think she did okay.
Yeah.
She had her moments of really shitty one-liners, but I think some of that might have to do with editing, but she was fine performance-wise. Jared Leto's Joker, I felt he brought something new to the table. We had to get away from Heath Ledger's Joker.
And I didn't want to see Heath Ledger's Joker again.
No, and to be fair, we need a new Joker
Yes.
every time we have a rebooted franchise in this aspect. Jack Nicholson was very different from Cesar Romero. Heath Ledger was very different from Jack Nicholson. It's only fitting that Jared go off and do his own thing. And I get it. People hate the tattoos. People hate the grill. I get it.
But he was gangsta. He's gangsta Joker in this movie.
Yeah, it's a different interpretation. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
The character that also really surprised me, if not just for the character, for the performance, was Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. I think almost everybody at this point has dumped, rightfully so, on Jai Courtney, and
He was good.
Yeah,
he was fun.
A lot of people are saying he was good. He did the role very well. One of the characters I felt also stood out was the character of Diablo.
Yeah.
He had probably one of the best fleshed out storylines, and Will Smith as Deadshot.
Will Smith is Will Smith.
And that's the thing about Will Smith, is that he's very good at playing Will Smith. But at the end of the day, he manages to bring a humanity to the character, and he wasn't just a one note collecting his paycheck. He easily could have phoned it in.
He was entertaining.
Yeah, I don't feel like he phoned this one in.
No,
so
no.
he was fine.
Another thing that we enjoyed was the soundtrack. Go out and buy the soundtrack, man.
Not the
soundtrack,
score.
not the score. Okay.
The soundtrack itself.
Yeah, the soundtrack is pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it really helped keep up the pace. One of the reasons I was able to accept the giant exposition vomit that we were presented with in the beginning was partly due to the soundtrack and how well it kind of helped tie a lot of things together. I usually advocate more for movie scores as opposed to soundtracks. I feel like it's a cheap way to put music into a film that otherwise has no business being in there. This is one of the very few instances where I wish they had just kind of gone with more of a soundtrack, because what you get is the first 25, 30 minutes is soundtrack with actual songs from artists. And then they kind of drop that format, and then it kind of gets spread out a little bit more towards the end, and at the very end you get another song. And I kind of wish they could have just kept going with the soundtrack way of putting music into the film.
Especially because of the actual film score is a little weak.
Yeah.
It's not very memorable. So they might as well just use soundtracks. Actual songs from artists throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
so.
the score itself, it's one of the most bland,
Yeah.
uninspiring pieces of music scoring I've heard in a while, but that's another story.
Now for the bad. So around the 45-minute mark, I leaned over to her in the theater and I said, "Hey man, don't be eating all the popcorn," you know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's mine.
So I leaned over to her in the theater and I'm like, "Man, I'm really enjoying myself. Like, this is really good." And then,
Spoke too soon.
not too long after that, you can start to see the film's flaws, okay? I mean, the editing in this movie. Holy shit. It's not just the quick, fast editing, but you could tell there were probably tons and tons of scenes just missing. I mean, there was no peaceful transition from scene to scene. It almost felt like it was almost one big scene sometimes. Like we'd have this one big action set piece, and then literally we just, have a few lines of dialogue, and then we go right into another mission. We're like, wait a minute, wait, what's going on? You could tell there were scenes missing, which unfortunately hurt the movie.
Yes, it definitely felt like at least 20 to 30 minutes of probably desperately needed character developmental scenes were left on the cutting room floor. And I'm actually really surprised by this, because so far, DC and Warner Brothers, they have not shied away from surpassing that 2-hour mark. In a lot of cases, I believe Man of Steel and BVS were similar in runtimes. I believe Man of Steel was at least 215, 220, and BVS theatrical was 230 at least. And this movie, if I'm not mistaken, barely clocks in at 2 hours. And it's the same parameters. It's PG-13, it's a comic book film, it's a tail end of summer. Why would you cut so much needed character building material out of a film like this? And I feel the movie greatly suffered for it, because there were a lot of beats that the film was trying to hit when it came to the characters and their really twisted bonding experience that they tried to have, which they could have had. And they tried to have moments of, oh, well, we're friends now, and oh, well, I'm gonna sacrifice this and it means so much. And I was sitting there in the theater going,
He's like, really? You've known this person for like a day?
yeah, you didn't really,
They're my friends!
you didn't really earn these moments.
Okay.
You didn't really earn these moments that you were trying to pull off. And I truly feel that it was because of everything that got edited out. And I really, really hope that the home video release of this film gets a proper extended cut, because there is a good story in here. And speaking of story, if you're expecting a unique story to be told to you, something which you've never seen before on screen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This is one of the most confusing and yet generic stories. It falls apart with the character that I believe is the weakest point of the film in the Enchantress.
Yeah.
And partly what was really sad about her was that she kind of started off interesting.
Yeah, at first.
You find out she's this witch that has inhabited this human, and Amanda Waller has found this witch's heart, and so Amanda Waller is controlling the witch. And of course the witch goes rogue, and the witch finds her brother, And then she, in this really quick, confusing mess of dialogue, says, well, we were gods, but we're not anymore. The humans worship machines now, and so I'm gonna build a bigger machine to destroy their machines, and I'm gonna take over the world. And it ends with a pillar of light going into the sky. How many times have we seen this in movies these days? And the finale was so underwhelming in how they defeated her. And again, it felt very messy. Something I feel went kind of wrong once the team got out into the city. Some parts when the team finally got together and started doing their thing, some parts really worked. There's this one scene in the bar, and there's this dialogue and there's this backstory for some of the characters.
That's one of the best scenes in the movie, by the way.
It's a great scene for these characters. You have that, and then you have this shit fest of an ending that is just, oh, lights, loud noises, oh, the witch who has all these powers is fighting physically hand-to-hand with the characters when she doesn't have to because she's a witch, and she can just destroy them. But she's fighting hand-to-hand with...
The villain is weak.
It's horrible.
In this movie, okay? Just warning all you guys right now. Yeah, at first she was a little interesting. And then all of a sudden she went from that to, I just do this now for the rest of the movie. That's it.
She was like a belly dancer on meth. It was laughable. It was like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? It's just literally like, just...
Was she Shakira?
It was so distracting. It's like, this is your villain, and we're laughing. We're sitting over here laughing our asses off at your shitty moves.
So to use Green Lantern as an example, you're introducing this comic book character, his first movie, to the world, okay? You want to bring your good villain. You want to bring your Sinestro the first time around. You don't want to bring in the Hector Hamron bullshit. And unfortunately, this film kind of did that. I mean, they brought us a weak villain at first, and that kind of sucks. And the action is solid in the film. It's not great. It's not like it's mind-blowing. It's not like it's badass like the Batman in the warehouse fight sequence, okay? You're not gonna get anything like that, okay? There are moments, though, where the action's pretty good, but otherwise it's pretty underwhelming.
And sorry to say, for those of you expecting to see a lot of Jared Leto as the Joker,
damn it.
He might have a total of maybe 6 to 7 minutes combined of all the scenes he has spread throughout. It's kind of disappointing. Again, it's, some people are laughing at his performance and some people are like, oh, this is awesome. Personally, I am intrigued and I want to see him in a full-blown film where it's him and Batman, and this is...
It's hard. It's hard to fully judge his overall performance because, like you said, we need to see him in a full-fledged movie, but from the tidbits we got, we enjoyed his performance, so... But yeah, if you're expecting a lot of Leto, you're not going to get it. And I think they made a mistake, and they should have made the Joker the main villain. And now for the badass. Now, you know how I just said that the action was, solid. It was solid, right? Fucking Slipknot, okay? Slipknot. Fucking badass in this movie. A character just came out of nowhere.
So all the characters have their own little entrances with, a little bit of the backstory of who they are, set to their soundtracks, and it's all very fitting and it's all very nice. Okay, so you want to talk about a character that steals the show when it comes to having the best character entrance. And not only that, has the best backstory in general, the best overall character arc, and the best resolution. Wow.
Yeah.
It just...
Yeah.
I can't even express it because it took me off guard that much.
Yeah.
And in a movie where I was enjoying it and then I was like, but at least we had this character to hold the film together.
Yeah. So you guys, when you watch the movie, don't take your eyes off of fucking Slipknot, okay?
I want to know what you guys have to say about Slipknot, because he was like the one where it's like, give him his own movie.
Yeah, he's stealing the show.
Alright, so I'm just gonna lay it all out there. I totally understand why the critics have ripped this movie to shreds. It is a mess, in part, I feel, to just really horrific editing when I felt at the end of the day, it is completely acceptable for comic book films to be long. And if you're cutting out a film to reduce its runtime and you're sacrificing that character development that you so desperately needed, this is what you get. And I'm really sad to see that because I see what they were trying to do. And despite all of its flaws, I am genuinely proud of DC for taking this step and trying something so outlandish and so unconventional despite its mess and despite certain things just falling horrifically flat, some things flat out not making sense. But at the end of the day, certain points of the film really held it together for me. And you know, right down to between some of the cinematography and like the fighting scenes, like we said, didn't look that great, but there were moments where it looked completely different, like something DC hasn't tried before. You know, DC's rebooted franchise, beginning with Man of Steel and then BVS, has been very gritty and low-key and just kind of melancholy. This was their first attempt at really trying to step outside the box and step outside their own conventions. And while I don't feel that this film is anything great and this is not going to get a lot of people on board with the DCEU, I personally enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Now, critically, I'm willing to admit this movie deserves a 2 because of the choppy nature and certain things just not holding together very well when they really needed it to with the characters. But personally, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'm going a little high here. For what it deserves, I would probably give it about a 3.3.
Yeah, it's a mess, but it's an entertaining mess. So I give Suicide Squad 3.5 out of 5 stars. Alright, that's it for today's video. Let us know in the comments below what you guys thought of Suicide Squad.
And Slipknot.
Yeah, let us know what you guys thought about Slipknot, man.
Just saying.
Fucking Slipknot. We'd like to thank all of you guys for watching. You guys rock. We see you guys next time.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.
Okay, so you want to talk about a character. Everybody has their own little intros, okay, with the exposition and the music and all that. You want to talk about the character who steals the spotlight in terms of the best intro. The character who steals the spotlight in terms of the best backstory, the best overall character arc and character resolution.
Shit! I was breaking!
You want to talk about a character who has... Damn it.
So, you guys, when you watch the movie, don't take your eyes
Yeah.
off of fucking Slipknot, okay?
I want to know what you guys have
Yeah.
to say about Slipknot, because he was like the one where it's like, give
He's-
him his own movie.
Yeah, he's stealing the show. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh, that was fucking hard. That was so fucking hard.